All right, so we recorded this video already. And then when we went to do the editing, we realized that it was a good conversation. We got tons of really good content, but nobody really has 45 minutes, which is what we ended up with to sit and watch one video. So we cut it into two parts.
Two parts.
Here's part one. One of the most important conversations that we have on our Instagram is about interracial marriage and maybe what that life looks like. And we asked lots of questions, and sometimes it's hard to keep up with everything. So what we did is we asked for you guys.
You're gonna hear a little bit of our baby, just a smidge / a lot. Let's be honest.
I'm sorry.
Let's kick it 100.
What we did is we reached out and we asked you guys to ask us your questions, and we took the top 5 most popular or most asked question about what it is like to be in an interracial relationship, including an interracial family. So let's get down to those questions.
Yep, we're gonna get into the nitty gritty based on some of the questions that you had. There was a lot of them, so don't feel like we're not listening. We tried to gather maybe 5 that represented a good portion of what people are asking, and we may do some additional stuff later.
Okay, I'll start with.
Am I beautiful?
Yeah.
Sexy.
Okay. The number 1 most asked question was, were each of your families accepting of the other person, or were there some reservations when you started dating and when you decided to get married?
That's a good question. For us, yeah, things were pretty good. Pretty good. Our families were super accepting. Chelsie comes from a great family. I like my family a whole lot. I'd say that they're pretty good. They did have a couple reservations, I think, about Chelsie and having a son, because that was kind of a unique idea that maybe wasn't addressed right off the bat. And when we brought Jackson over, once they met Jax instantly became part of the family, in so much so that it wasn't until recently my sisters were like, wait a second, I've never once even thought of the idea that I'm his step-aunt. They are his aunties.
We don't use that word.
Yeah, they'll fight to the death for that kid. And so yeah, it's been pretty good, pretty seamless. Even our extended family, it's something that we've been blessed.
Yeah, I think that our families both were they were very seamless. They were very accepting. And I think that it was largely in part because they wanted us to be happy. So they saw how great he treated me, and that was priority. They saw how happy that he made me, and that was priority. And because I'm just going to say it, I have been married twice, and I have been married to a white person who treated me very poorly. So I think, I think that, especially in the sense that my family saw that it didn't matter, they just wanted me to be happy. They wanted me to be married to somebody that loved me and treated me the way that they thought I should be treated, and Bedford does that. So I've always felt very welcome by Bedford's family. I've always felt like they love me and they accept me and they care about me. And so we are very blessed in that, in that instance. But why do you think some families have a hard time accepting when their child is marrying someone that is of a different race?
I think there definitely could be some racial tension. I think that could be a thing. One thing that we benefited from, and I think was helpful in the seamless transition, was the fact that we're different culturally, quite a bit. But in terms of moral values, it is very apparent that we're very much, our families are the same. And that helps, and I could see how that could be a difference as well, where you're now different culturally and morally. There's some different differentiators there too. But for us, there are no, in terms of morals, ethics, values, my parents are pretty much her parents.
They're the same that way. But so to return to the question, we get asked this question a lot, which would lead me to believe that this is a widespread issue. I've gotten messages across the board saying, I was dating a black man, my family was not accepting.
Yep.
Or I've seen the flip side where people have said, I started dating a white man and my family was not okay with it. So I wanted to take a second and discuss maybe how hard that would be, and maybe some of the reasons that families have a hard time accepting when their child is not marrying within their own race. blog post 6 or 7 years ago, and one of the comments that I received the most was, I hate seeing black people marry white people. Black people should marry black people. White people should marry white people.
And guys, here first, it was not only white people saying, now some of the stuff, man, there were some Klan rally people there. I'm not gonna say that there wasn't.
There was some scary stuff there.
There was some sketchy stuff, but there were, like, the black nation, all right, our community, y'all weren't as accepting either. Like, we're gonna hold it down, we're gonna just say it right now. It was not just unilaterally one way or the other. It was quite equally, actually, I would say, the most vitriol and hate spewed, like, scary stuff probably came from the white demographic. But the most consistent negative feedback that maybe wasn't like, hey, we're gonna hold a Klan rally at your house, that came from a great group of my African brothers and sisters.
So why do you think they have such a hard, why do you think that the black community has such a hard time with interracial marriages?
I think part of it is that there are some issues and there are some things that are tough to maybe understand. And I know that we've kind of gone through some stuff where I'm like, yo, that doesn't fly. And you'll be like, hey, I need to understand why. Can you explain that to me? Or quite literally, I would not have that issue if you were actually in the same foot, right?
Sure.
So I think that there is some comfort in knowing that someone is 100% up to speed on what's going on, why it's going on, why things are not okay, or what is okay. As a family, we've had to grow and learn both ways, actually, and that's why I think we have an upper hand, if you will, in understanding maybe some cultural differences and issues, because I can be like, hey, I don't understand why this would even be considered okay. And Chelsea would be like, from my point of view, maybe this is something that is occurring. And I could do the exact same thing with you, vice versa. So I think one of those things is culturally, you want someone that understands and that you don't have to teach, because at the end of the day, there's a few things that Chelsea didn't understand in my world that she had to learn and learn fast. And some of it was pretty rough.
I agree. I think Mimi.
Like what?
So one thing that I've really tried to remember, and something maybe that I understand better now that I have children that are mixed, is that families are going to want their child to feel safe. You know, they want to truly understand someone's intentions, and not only that person, but that person has extended family and all of those things, and they don't know those people. And they don't know their background or their history or their belief system, and it would be really hard to have your child marry into a family that maybe doesn't respect your child the way that you know they deserve to be respected. So that's something that I really try to remind myself of when we're getting that feedback of, you guys should be married, this isn't, you know, it's not right. And so that's just something I try to remind myself of. But the flip side from, you know, the white point of view, you are a white family and your child is marrying a black individual, I think you have the obvious answer of, you have racial issues. Like, you have a belief system that does not allow you to think that your child is marrying a black person and that it's acceptable. So I think that's the obvious answer. I do, however, think that there are some like concerns as well, where like, is my child prepared or aware of maybe some of the challenges that they are going to experience? Because I'm going to tell you, like, being in an interracial relationship is difficult. It comes with a lot of challenges, and you have to be prepared for those things. Your marriage has to be able to like withstand those things. And I think that maybe those are some things, like, is my child prepared to be able to go through what they're about to experience? And maybe the life that they're about to have, the experiences that their kids will have, is that something that they're prepared for? And then, so I think that that could also cause some hesitance, but I don't think that it's necessarily acceptable. So
actually, none of it's acceptable.
It's not.
Clean break. None of it. Zero acceptance.
I mean, and solely based on the fact that it's not your job to tell anybody who they should or should not marry. We celebrate the fact that it wasn't that long ago that people were allowed to marry interracially. And that is something that we celebrate. That's something that is important. We have the right to be able to do that. And I think that that's important. You know, it really is. That's what we should be hanging on to, not the ideal that people shouldn't marry outside of their own race. So.
All right, question 2. Pull it up. What do we got?
Let's do.
Bing, 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 bing,
Okay.
bing, bing.
All right. The second most frequently asked question or most popular question is, do you get weird looks or comments when you're out in public or online?
Yeah.
Yep.
A, no, it would be C. C, all the above. Online, I mean, y'all can just go through the feed if you want to. The internet's not a fantastic space, you know? You got all kinds of stuff, all kinds of riffraff on the internet. But, you know, and it goes vice versa, it actually goes both ways. So there's plenty of times where, and Chelsie wrote about this, where people be like, hey, are your kids adopted? Where did you get those kids? Hey, your kids are brown. What's going on here? And a lot of it comes with the confusion that we also have a white son. And I couldn't tell you how many times people are a little bit concerned about little Jax and his black dad. Like, it happens and it's frustrating. And, you know, we've even had people be like, hey, buddy, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, that's my Bedford. And
it still like is unsettling for them. And I think that one of the things that really pushes that home for me is that, you know, obviously we should be aware of our surroundings, okay? As adults, we should be aware, like, okay, that kid is screaming and that person is walking away. Like, those are things we should be aware of, okay? So I get it. It's a little bit unnerving to see a white child screaming, kicking, flailing as a child would when they're being punished, and a black adult carrying that child away, okay? I get that. But I have 3 mixed children, and I have walked out of about 2 million rooms, grocery stores, gas stations, whatever it is,
Movie
with
theaters.
them screaming, flailing, throwing a temper tantrum in the exact same way. No one's ever even thought, it's like not 2 seconds. They have never even thought about it. And it's because, here's the problem. He's the bad guy and I'm the saint. I'm the woman that adopted these children and I'm just so kind and so like loving and what an amazing thing that I did. And he's kidnapping this child.
Which is messed up. That's messed
And
up.
it's wrong.
It ain't right.
So yes, I get the question at least once a week, are they adopted? Where did you get them? Where did you get those? Where are they adopted from? Are they yours? But are they yours? That happens all the time. And we've had some incredible conversations with people that have, and you would not believe the things that people feel it's acceptable to say to someone just because their children do not look exactly like them. So that's probably the number 1 comment that we receive in public. Are they all yours? I mean,
No.
yours?
Number two. The number 1 comment, and I'm proud of this comment actually because my daughters are beautiful. That's the number 1 comment that we get is
Your family is so beautiful.
and they are. I have some excellent genetics, and she's got superb genetics. And when you put excellent and superb, you get superbolent. Okay? And that's what we got. A mixture of 4 superbolent children, 3 of which have some of my genetics in them. And actually, as of this video, there's 1 more coming. Yeah. So yeah, we get looks, we get comments. Chelsie often has to answer where we adopted those children / she, if I'm around, nobody asks anything. I'll never get where I adopted Jax from. So that, you know, that's kind of messed up. I don't love it. If anything, it's like, hey Jax, are you safe, pal? And it's like, yeah, this is stupid.
It's unfortunate. And, you know, I think that we are in a unique position because we have both races of children. I think we're in a unique position to be able to see the difference. I don't know that we would be able to fully understand that gap if we didn't have them both. I think we would just see the one side, which what I will say is being in an interracial relationship was never something that I planned. I fell in love with Bedford and here we are. But I will say that it is one of the greatest blessings of my entire life because it has been so eye-opening and it has allowed me to have such amazing conversations that I've never had, and I don't know that I would have taken the opportunity to have. And I feel like we have this view because we have both perspectives. And that's something that I'm grateful for. So I think that it really levels us out and it gives us the opportunity to see things a little bit differently. And so I am grateful for that. But I'm grateful that Bedford said that our number one comment, because we want this to be a positive thing, the number one compliment that we receive, or comment in general, is a compliment. Your family is so beautiful. Your kids are the most beautiful children I've ever seen. We're
gonna have some cocky kids. They get a lot of positive reactions.
They do. And that is something that I'm grateful for. So if you're talking about negative comments, the number one negative comment, number two comment that we receive is, are they yours? Where did you get them? Etc. So do you feel like we get any negative looks, dirty looks, whatever? And how do you feel like we handle those?
Yeah, no, I think we do. There's definitely some times where we get some dirty looks, negative looks, but the nice thing is, and I apologize, we got that baby, here she is again. The nice thing is though, is we understand that what we are building is far greater than anybody else's opinion. And luckily we haven't had to choose between much family or anything like that. And our circle of friends have been pretty great and are spectacular. But what we are building is far greater than some old person at the gas station or some lady at the play place at the mall or something. And so, you take it, and at times we'll address it. And we'll speak to how unacceptable some of the situations are. And at times I'm like, yo, this ain't even worth my time. I'll be 100% honest. It's like, nah, that person probably needs to get some education. That's probably not going to happen for me because it's not going to be a great experience for either of us.
I agree. I will say that I think that the comments that you get and the things that you hear or the looks that you get are going to be very demographic. I think that it depends on where you live, maybe like the ideals in that area, how many people, like what the racial percentages are.
Watch out for old white folks in small white cities.
It's not great. But I think that that's going to matter. So I think that, we can tell you our experience, and I will tell you that we haven't gotten a ton of bad stuff out in public. Online is a completely different story, but it's because people will say whatever they want online. But I think out in public, we've gotten way more positive than negative, but I do think that that is going to depend on where you live.
Yep.
So thank you for watching part one. Part two will be available next Saturday morning. We hope that you enjoyed it, and maybe it sparks good conversation with you and your friends and your family, and maybe you learn something. Drop